The audience is seeing.
I want to go there.
Oh, you have to reset it.
Me too.
You need to reset it. You're live.
I'm live,
Yeah.
but I don't see me on the screen. There it is.
Yay. Hello.
Behaalotekha.
You're live.
Everybody say Behaalotekha.
Behaalotekha.
Then say, that's easy for you to say.
Did you say it?
That was easier for God to say, I think, but anyway.
Behaalotekha.
Well, tonight we are moving on along in our Torah Parshas. We are in the book of Numbers, chapter 8. We begin with verse 1 and go through chapter 12, verse 16. And of course, this is the third month, which is, okay, so it's the third month, the 11th day of 5777. So that's of the Hebrew calendar. So if you will, let's pray and ask God to join with us tonight as we study. If you're at home, you might want to stand because the Bible says when you pray, stand. And, you know, we're supposed to be standing when we're praying, especially in our community prayers. So just stand while we pray. Avinu Shabbat Shamayim, our Father, which art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. We pray, Lord, that you would be with us tonight as we are discussing your word. We pray that every word that we utter will be in accordance with your spirit, and that it will be a revelation for everyone hearing, that they might hear and understand your Torah. You said in your word that all who obey the Torah and teach others to obey, their names will be great in the kingdom of heaven. So I'm asking you, Lord, for your grace and to make my name whatever you want it to be in your kingdom, Lord. And I give you the praise and the glory and the honor forever and ever, infinity, and so on and so on. We love you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for being with us. And we just ask you for your great supply and abundance tonight as we study. Everybody say, Lord, I'm hungry.
Lord, I'm hungry.
I ask you to feed me. I'm thirsty, Lord.
I'm thirsty, Lord.
Give me living water from heaven so I'll have plenty for others. And Lord, I ask you for the anointing to really study deep tonight.
Pray for the anointing to really help me
Study deep tonight.
the anointing tonight.
Amen. And we praise you for it. You may be seated. All right. Well, I've got about 5 different Bibles open here. I'll just start by closing some of these out. Well, those are the wrong ones, so I'll just open a new one up. How does that sound? All right, we'll just go ahead and start this one afresh here. Numbers chapter 8, beginning of verse 1, and it says, Vaydaber Yahweh el Moshe lemor. We've never heard that little phrase before, have we? Almost every week.
And the Lord spake to Moses.
And Yahweh worded unto Moses, saying, Daber el Aharon ve'amarta elav Behaalotekha et hanerot al mul pnei menorah yairu shivat hanorot. So this says essentially, word unto to Aaron and say unto him, Behaalotekha, when you this is the same word as olah, to go up. Okay? Olah, how would you make a candle go up? Well, by lighting it. You follow me? And so the candle then becomes an olah unto the Lord. It lights up the sanctuary on the inside so that the priest can see what he's doing and be able to give his service unto Yahweh in the holiest of holies.
Amen.
All right. It goes on and says, Behaalotekha et hanerot, when you light the lamps. El mul means over against, Pnei ha-menorah, against the face of the candlesticks, and Ya'iru, and shall give light, Shivat, 7 hanorot, 7 lamps. So we're looking at the duty of Aaron when he lights the lights. How does he go about doing that? Doesn't tell you much detail, but it does tell you that it's Aaron who lights the lamps. So evidently he knows how, and he can pass that information along to whoever he's training to take his place. Then we have verse 3, Vaya'as, and shall, and made, or he did, or he made, kin, so, or as it was to be, Aharon el mul panei ha-menorah. So he did, Aaron did, over against the face of the candlestick, he lighted the lamps thereof as was commanded by Yahweh through Moses. God commanded Moses and commanded Aaron. Zot ha-ma'aseh, this is what was the work, ha-menorah, of the menorah, the candlestick, miksa, which was beaten zahav, gold. I bet that was beautiful, you know what? Unto the shaft of it, and unto the parocha, the parocha means flower, the flowers thereof. Miksha, there's that same word again. See, we had it up here at the top of the page. Same word down here. It's beaten work. He is a word that means she. He means she. Now, if that doesn't confuse you, just wait till we get through. Ki mareh, it's according to the pattern. I'm going to bring that up. Mareh, a view, the act of seeing, also an appearance, the thing seen. So Moses got the design from it by the seeing of it in the heavenlies when he was speaking with Yahweh. Wow. And so Moses, so he did, or made, et ha-menorah, the menorah. Vaydaber Yahweh el Moshe lemor. And there's the same phrase again that we had at the opening of this parsha. Chach et ha-levim. Take the Levites. Mitok, that means from the midst, Bnei Israel, the children of Israel. V'tiharta, and ye shall cleanse otam, them, cleanse them. V'ko ta'aseh, and thus you shall do. Okay, now let's talk about this verb here. This is called a qua'al verb. It's the standard root form of the ancient articles for the verbs. And it says, oseh is the root of it. It's just like in the prayer we have, oseh shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom alein. Okay, so it's really the same root. And the different forms of the root are called conjugations or expressions. And there's some standard rules in Hebrew that the pronoun, when it precedes the verb, there's the pronoun you. Taseh. So you aseh. You do this. And so this is going to be a verb that has a future application to it. It hasn't been done yet, but it's to be done. You follow me? So it's in a incompleted form. This is what Aaron's going to do unto them. What's them? The menorah, the candles, the lamps in the menorah. Letaharam, to cleanse them. Now this is actually talking about the Levites here. So he's bringing the Levites in to be cleansed. Tahara, to cleanse. Let's see, sprinkle clean water over me, ma'im teharim. Teharim, right here. That's the root for it right there. You see that? Teharim. Taharam. That was here for the Levites. Okay. So when we think of it in that term, then it makes it easier to remember. Tahara means clean, because we've got this psalm that we sing oftentimes on Shabbat that's got that root in it. You see, and so then we are to zahav, which means to sprinkle. Aleihim, on them, may the water of hata'at, excuse me, hata'at. I was looking to see. Okay, well, we'll just go on from here then. And he says, put upon them the water of purification and let them shave, and they're to shave all. There's the word for shave. And let's just go ahead and get the first word up here. Tahar, a knife or razor. So you're going to have a slicing action on your hair of your face and your head and various other places where you shave. And then here's the other word is avar. And that's literally to cross over. And that's the word that they were using. Here's the root for it. You see the root there on the screen? And that's the root meaning to pass this blade over your skin, basar, and bring that up here, over all of your basaram, your flesh, and let them wash their clothes. The big day means the clothes of him means them, the clothes of them. Yes.
They shave their whole body?
Yes, sir. If God said save your whole body, would you do it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go.
Somebody help me, right?
Well, yeah, yes and no. There would probably be groups of men helping each other to make sure that everything was shaved off, because they had to do it all. That means they have to do a close inspection, make sure that every hair on your body has been cut.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, just say over all their flesh.
Mm-hmm.
Ow.
This book says on the body. So.
I don't know, but I have had an operation down in that region of my anatomy, you know, where you're thinking. And when that hair started growing back in, oh my God, it felt like I was being stuck everywhere with needles.
I believe it.
That was cruel and unusual punishment there. So I was glad when that was over with and prayed I never had to do that again. So they had to shave over all of their flesh, and they had to wash their clothes and to make themselves clean. Let them take a bullock. That's the imagery of that just kind of gets to me. I remember this movie. It was called Major Payne. And he was always punishing the kids by shaving all their hair off the top of their head, and they come out and he'd put them in mud up to their shoulders and says, "Okay, grow, you little Brussels sprouts," you know. But then the next group came in from the following year, and they had this guy came through, and he was blind, and he had a seeing eye dog, and the dog had a grumpy attitude, and so he asked his tiger, his little youngest recruit, "Go get my field knife, son. We're gonna teach this dog a lesson." And he shaved that dog all the way from the tip of his nose to the bottom of his feet. It was funny. It was a funny movie. But I just got that image just flapped up in my eyes when I saw this, you know. But anyway, he says, take them Behaalotekha, and they're to take. The "u" on the end indicates they are. That's the pronoun they. So they're to take a bullock, a par, which means a young bull, Bemidbar, a young bull. It's usually under a year. Minchato. Mincha is a offering. It's a sacrifice that is bloodless. In other words, it's going to be fruits and vegetables, or it'll be grains or whatever, maybe bread offerings. And it's going to be of fine flour. So it's not going to be fruits. It's going to be very fine flour that's being run through sieves to make sure that it's fine enough for this offering. And it's going to be belula. That means literally to mingle with or to stir in. Shaman. Shaman is oil, grape oil. Shaman, especially liquid as from the olive, often perfumed and figuratively richness. So this oil then is mingled in and mixed in with the fine flour, and then the bullock, a second bullock it says here, a second bullock, Bemidbar, a very young bull, tikak, you shall take, lechatat, for a sin offering. Sin is chata. I've got that highlighted on your screen, the root, and that's the word for sin. So it'll be for a sin offering. And behikravta, and that means to bring it near. You shall bring it near. The Levim are the ones who's going to do the bringing, because we got the sign of the direct object here that tells us that the next word is a direct object. Okay, next word or phrase. And it's supposed to be before the Ohel Moed, the tent of the meetings. Vahikhalta, and you shall gather together the whole assembly, the Adat, every one of the assembly, Bnei Israel, the children of Israel. And you shall bring the Levim before Yahweh, v'samchu, and you shall put Bnei Israel et yadehim al halivim. Now this is so interesting. If you compare this to what the people do for their sacrifices that they bring before God, they're commanded to put their hands on the heads of their sacrifices and to pray over those sacrifices, and God will hear their prayer and account it to them for blessing. Now here they're going to do this to the Levim, the Levites. So all of the male children of the Levites are brought together, and it says the children of Israel are to place their hands upon the Levites, because they're going to transfer off of themselves the responsibility of providing the firstborn males of their families to God. So their prayer is going to have something to do with that. We ask you, O Lord, to accept the Levites as on our behalf as the firstborn males of our communities. Okay, something on that order. And then God, of course, will accept them and bless them so that they don't come into punishment when they have needs in the community. V'hanif, and they shall offer, and Aaron is doing the offering, and the direct object is the Levim. So Aaron is going to offer the Levim, the Levites, Tanufa, an offering before Yahweh. So they have become a sacrificial offering unto Yahweh. Maya means literally 100, I think. Let me look here. Oh, that's just indicating the sign of the direct object. The children of Israel. So the proper translation of this, in my opinion, should be probably from the children of Israel rather than of the children of Israel. But it does have the proper form here on the end of it to be translated of. And if you hold to your guns on the translation technology and the way it all is supposed to work, then that could be easily translated from et B'nai Israel, from the children of Israel as the direct object, an offering of Yahweh of the children of Israel, that they may execute the service of Yahweh. So we have a number of interesting things going on here, but I'd really prefer to move on along since I don't have quite as good of a grasp of Hebrew grammar as I would like to have. But I'm going to assume that they translated this correctly. This one's a little trickier to try to do. So Haleviim and the Levites, Yismachu, and this literally is a Hebrew word that means Sameach, Samach, Simcha. Well, come on, David, think. To take hold of. It's actually to lay hands upon. It's almost always understood to mean laying hands upon. What are you going to lay on? Et yadayim, their hands. So the Levites shall lay their hands upon the heads of the parim, the young bulls, and shall make et ha-echad, the one, chatat, a sin offering, va'et ha-echad, the other one, olah, a elevation offering unto Yahweh, lekafer, to atone. This is the same as the word for atonement. Remember Yom Kippur? Kippur is atone, and there's kippur, or there's kafer, same root in the Hebrew, on the Levites. So these bulls will be atonements to Yahweh for the Levites. I think it's interesting to go through these grammars like this. I don't know, some of you here have been with me long enough to begin to pick some of this up, I think.
Yeah.
It's good.
Started too slowly, but slowly.
Verse 13, V'ha'amadta, and you shall set. Amad means to stand up or raise up. And you shall raise up, or you shall stand up, et ha-Leviim, the Levites, before Aaron. So they're going to become servants to Aaron, and before his sons, and offer unto them tanufa, an offering unto Yahweh. And then it says, V'hivdalta, and you shall separate out. Bidal means to separate. Doesn't tell you what's doing the separating, but it does tell you that you shall separate out et halevim. So all the Levites will be pulled out of the community from among mitok, from among Bnei Israel, the children of Israel, and shall be to me. In other words, God's saying, these will be mine, Haleviim are mine. And then, verse 15, the achare, and after kin. Kin means so, or it's almost always understood to mean it is so. Yes, or it is so, is the word kin. Yavo, they shall go in, Haleviim, le'avod, they're going to go in to serve, le'avod, to serve, et ha'ohel me'od, the tabernacle of the appointments, v'ticharta, and you shall cleanse otam, you shall cleanse them, v'hinafta, and you shall offer otam for them an offering, tanufa, an offering. Ki natuim, ki here can mean like or as or because. There's a lot of, that's a kind of a general word that's used in a lot of different ways. The children of Israel, I'll say, ki natuim, holy. Let's look that word up. Natan. It means a gift, or it doesn't mean holy. I don't know why they put the word holy there. Ki natan. Use great latitude. It means literally to give. And here it is again, natuim. It's the exact repetition. So these are given wholly, completely given, hema, they are, unto me. Mitok b'nei Israel, from the midst of the children of Israel. Tachat. Tachat can mean like under or instead of, and let's see what this is. Below, in lieu of, and so on. And so instead of Pete Rot, and I want to look that one up here, from Fisher, first things opening. Oh, from the first opening of the Matrix. That's what they're talking about. Oh, the Matrix, yes. Okay, so we're going to find Nemo and what's some of the other guys' names in that movie. Anyway, so, I'm sorry?
She's talking to me.
Okay, so these are going to be offered instead of those that are the firstborn, in other words, the bikur. It's called bikurs here. Every rachem, every womb, bikur, the firstborn, kol b'nei Israel, and of all the children of Israel, lekachti, and I have taken, otam, I've taken them. They didn't have a choice in it. I took them unto me. Because, ki means because here in this case. To me, all the firstborn of the children of Israel, Be'adam, and the man, Uba Bakarim, Ubav Hema, little tongue tangled. Bav Hema, that means literally of the beasts of the field. Bayam, in the day, Ha Koti, that I smote. Kol Bakur, firstborn of all the land of Egypt. I sanctified them unto myself. So God had this plan all along that the Levites would become dedicated unto him as his inheritance, and he would become their inheritance. He says, I have taken the Levites, Halevim, to Tachat, from under or instead of Kol Bakor, all instead of every firstborn of the children of Israel. the Etna I have given them, the Levites, as a gift, natunim, to Aaron and to Benav, his sons, mitok, from among Bnei Israel, from among the children of Israel, la'avod, to serve et ha'avudat, the service, Bnei Israel, Bohel Moed, in the tent of the appointments, to make a covering or atonement on the children of Israel, and not be bivni among the children of Israel a negef, a plague. Geshet, when it comes near, come near. It's nice having all these tools, but sometimes it doesn't cooperate very well. Yeah. Begeshet, to come near the children of Israel to HaKodesh, the holy sanctuary. So he's saying, when you come near unto the holy sanctuary, I don't want no plagues coming upon you. And so therefore, all these things will be done so that when you come to the Moedim, that you will be protected. You won't be taken. And Moses and Aaron did all the congregation of the children of Israel did. And Moses and Aaron and all the children of Israel, all the congregation, Adat, means literally the congregation of the children of Israel, the Levites, and everything which God commanded Moses to the Levim. So, see here's kin. So, Hosea, they did unto them, the children of Israel. So they were faithful to follow the command that God gave them. The Levites were purified. They washed their clothes and Aaron offered them as an offering before Yahweh, and made an atonement for them, Aaron did, to cleanse them. And after that, the Levites went in to do their service in the tabernacle of the congregation before Aaron and before his sons, just as Yahweh had commanded Moses on the Levites, so they did unto them. Okay, I think at this point I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the easier to read English for most of us anyway. I think Shane's the only one that knows more Hebrew than me.
I just have one question and no comment on that comment you just made. The waving, I have the microphone. Am I live?
There you are. Is it live or is it Memorex?
Okay, so it's thank you. It's waving. What's the object here in the sentence in the Hebrew? Because Rabbi Yochanan brought this up a while back. Okay, so I guess Aaron waved or had all the Levite.
He got a Levite
hands.
in one hand and a Levite in the other hand.
Yeah, and start waving them like a Superman. Like that must have been some sight to behold, seeing Aaron deadlift two people.
Okay, say this word for me, okay?
Yes.
Concept.
Right.
There's a concept in Hebrew. If it says that they are a wave offering, it means that they become an offering, a sacrificial offering unto the Lord. Mm-hmm. And so it is a concept.
Okay.
It's not a literal, but a concept.
Right.
And so
And I
the
just wanted to
concept is
clarify that.
probably more literal than the literal is.
Yeah, because I'll never forget growing up. There was an actual cartoon that made fun of this, where Aaron's going through a stream of Levi, waving each one, wave, 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 wave.
Like Larry says, well, let's see us all become a wave offering before the Lord. Wave, everybody!
exactly. So I just always get a kick out of that in chapter 8. You know, because again, like you said, it's conceptual, but if you don't understand these things in context, somebody reads this, they're like, and wave them as a wave offering. So that must have been some sight to behold.
Yeah. I'd like to see Moses lift all those Levites up and wave them.
Yep.
Right.
Well, thank you.
Sure. We're in verse 23 now, and Yahweh said to Moshe, here are the instructions concerning the Levim. When they reach the age of 25, they are to begin performing their duties. It's interesting that they're counted from age 4, but they're to start their ministry roles at age 25.
Is that where we get the quarter?
Yar, 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 yar. Anyway, so when they reach the age of 25, so most of the other tribes were counted from the age of 20 and upward. But the Levites were counted to do their work from age 25 and upward.
I guess they needed additional time to mature and make sure that they got over any drinking habits.
Hopefully, yes, sir.
Plus, there was also, wasn't there a context back then of a certain age you were already supposed to be married by and already had kids by? Wasn't that before the age of 25? Because I don't know, the age of 30 was the age of mastery. I remember that. And of course, there's the mikvah.
Where can you prove that from?
There's a corresponding scripture in the Tanakh.
Not that I'm aware of, but it has to do with the oral
traditions.
Torah,
Right,
oral
I'm trying to
tradition.
remember the book that's
Pirkei Avot.
Pirkei Avot.
That's the ethics of the fathers.
Okay.
And there's one whole section of that that's reserved for the life cycles of a man's life.
Right.
Okay. And
That's
so
what
it says at age 4 he begins the study of Hebrew. And does that mean they do it exactly at age 4? No, but approximately age 4, that's when they begin. When they feel that their son is able to grasp the concepts, then they begin working with them on the concept of Hebrew. And then by age 12, they're supposed to be bar mitzvah, which means they are a son of the covenant, and therefore they have to be able to read the covenant to be a son of the covenant. And so that's when they've finally gotten a mastery of Hebrew, that's when they begin studying the Torah.
Right.
And then at age, I believe it is said at age 18, they are responsible for keeping the oral traditions.
What age?
Around 18.
Okay.
So it gives you these little stepping places. And I
Okay.
may be wrong about some of the periods, but
Okay.
But
Yeah,
I
'cause
know
I
where
don't
to find it, and I can
Okay.
get it out and read it to you if you want. But
Right, but I think that I think Yochanan brought this up once in his corresponding notes that in that there's something about age 25, and that's why
there is something about age 25.
That's why that's where to get this from, and that's what's
It's
supposed to
possible.
keep this context. So you asked the question, wonder why age 25 compared to the other ones. Well, that was
right.
giving
And
clarification.
keep
on
in
this.
mind that the original Mishnah, which was the
Mishnah, so I
original,
was trying to remember.
the original part of the Talmud that predates the actual compilation of the Talmud, but it's the source for understanding Talmud.
Right,
That is the original commentary on the Torah.
right.
25 is where the Levites began ministering in the temple, but it's understood that they are as apprentices, that they are not given the severe, extreme responsibility.
Right, work them in.
But they are there as students to learn, And when do they go into their fullness of their ministry? At age 30.
Right.
Okay.
But there's another corresponding to this, and it has to do with them making sure that they have a firm foundation, because not only are they at this role of age 25 coming in as apprentices, but they have to have had already stability to ensure there's not any natural life distractions to get in the way of their service.
When you think about coming before the Almighty and how rigid His instructions are,
Right.
you don't put a child in that responsibility.
No.
He can't
Surely
grasp
not.
the awesomeness of it or the responsibility of it. So that's where you begin to instruct them as an apprentice
Right.
to the Levites. And the Levites, not all Levites are Kohanim. Only the ones that were born from descendants of Abraham, from descendants of Aaron, were to be actual priesthood. So they would have been going through the training, extra training that would be for priesthood. But these are Levites.
Right.
So they are given their responsibilities when they turn 25.
So in that sense, and finishing up on this line of questioning, I seem to remember Rabbi Yochanan bringing up something, and I recently had a client who is a psychologist bring up that there's been a number of studies to have shown that the male subconscious mind starts to mature only at age 25 and upwards, and only by age 30 does full adulthood actually start to kick in.
That sounds about right.
So there is a deeper meaning to here, not only that being age 25, but also to age 50, because if I'm not mistaken, at age 50, there becomes the deterioration of response time.
Well, that's the case for me. I'm fighting it, but
And
it's sneaking up on me.
age 50.
It's sneaking up on me. At first it was pretty slow, and now it's pretty fast.
No, it's just need to get you filled up with some stuff and fed off the free radicals. That's all.
Sure. But anyway, so when they are reached the age of 50, they stop performing this work and not serve any longer. In the Pirkei Avot, again, it tells us that when a man reaches 100, he's counted as though he is dead and not have any expectations upon him for service in the community. So I thought that was interesting too. They will assist their brothers who are performing their duties in the tent of the meeting, but they themselves will not do any of the work. This is what you are to do with the Levim in regard with their duties. Chapter 9. That's going so fast already. I guess we're going till what, 8:30? Okay.
That's usually the goal, or the aim.
Yahweh spoke to Moshe in Mount Sinai in the first month of the second year after they had left the land of Egypt, and said, "Let the people of Israel observe Pesach at its designated time on the 14th day of this month at dusk." And this at dusk is not at dusk. That is translation, not literal translation.
That's here too. It's also here in this it's here in this version of or it's in the
I know.
Complete
David
Jewish
Stern
Bible.
did the same thing. Why did he do it?
uh
Why did he do it?
corruption of concepts of man,
No,
ordinances of man.
say it with
misunderstanding.
me. Tradition!
That's what I mean, tradition.
So, this is the phrase that was used to translate it to at evening. But at evening is not in that phrase anywhere. But what's in there is bain, which means between. Bain means between.
Between evenings.
Come on. Bain. among, or at, or between. See here, between, in, out of, whether. See, the Hebrew language is very, very conceptual in nature. So when it says some things can be translated that way, but not all things will be translated this way. But Bain Ha'arbaim, I asked a rabbi about this one time, just puzzled how they see it, because it says clearly between evenings. And the rabbi looked at me and smiled and said, yes, it does. But it means at evening. But it doesn't say at evening. No, it doesn't.
Oh, wow. Confusing.
So he couldn't explain it either, in other words. Okay? Well, that's all right. We all have faults. May that be the least of our faults, right?
Amen.
So here it means between evenings. So anytime I'm taking this, anytime between the first and second evenings is when you shall keep the Passover. That's where you slaughter the Passover lamb and you cook it and you have your Passover Seder.
Wow.
Okay.
Another reason why certain rabbinic sections of our people, I'm going to say, to not get myself in trouble here,
Oh, you already are. You're too late.
tend to find this as an opportunity to try to once again deny Yeshua as the Messiah.
Well, there are some idiots out there, and they're not our traditional Jewish or conventional Jewish rabbis that I'm speaking of now.
Right.
I want to make that clear.
Right.
But there are some people out there who are less educated that claim that Yeshua did not have a legal, legitimate, kosher Passover Seder. That's baloney, because according to Torah,
Exactly.
he held his Seder between evenings, and that counts, and it is obedience.
Right, but they're trying to use that. Some try to use this as a way to discount him.
I know they do.
That's another reason why they still try to teach
I
at evening.
haven't heard that from the Jewish community as much as from some communities that are mostly Christians that are coming out of Christianity into this Messianic way. And that bothers me. That disturbs me, because all Christians that I've seen that have come out of Christendom have done the same kind of little faux pas where they want to say literally between evenings because they can't read Hebrew. They read it in English, and then they say, see, Jesus didn't really keep the true Passover Seder because it was at evening, and it wasn't. But it doesn't say at evening. It says between evening. If it was properly translated, they would know they were wrong.
Exactly.
So I don't understand what it means between evenings.
Oh, very simple. Friday night to Saturday night. So that means you could do it Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon.
But you can light the candle. Or
Well,
you
I'm
can-
saying this in this
No,
example
between
context.
evenings,
The
the phrase
between
between evenings cannot be taken like a hard factual at the sunset.
So it
for
doesn't
example.
mean if sunset's at 7 o'clock Friday, I have to do it at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock on Friday, or 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock on Saturday. I could do it at, let's say, 11 a.m. on Saturday, because that's between evenings.
candles
That's
too?
not, no.
No, you're slipping subjects here, okay?
Context. Just.
The
no.
concept is tantamount to lighting your Sabbath candles at 10 a.m. That would be between the evenings, but it doesn't say between evenings. It says before evening in the Hebrew text. So it's at the setting of the sun. That's when you light your candles.
Right.
But so you can't take that one to mean just any old time you want to. You can't take it, at 10 or 11 or even noon the next day, because it's still before the sun sets, right?
Thank you.
But that's not what it's talking about. And that has nothing to do with the Sabbath and when you light the Sabbath candles. But he was using it as an example of the opposites. So the example for the opposite's sake is that in one reference it says at sunset, and that says that in the Hebrew. And the other case is this one where it says between the evenings. And it's unusual wording, but
So
God,
one is wrong and one is right.
one is wrong and one is right. And here, between the evenings is right.
Because it's
So if we want to, we can hold our Passover Seder at noon if we want to. That doesn't say that it has to be at evening like it's translated here.
Which is, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Rabbi,
Yes.
where it's mistaken though is when they add the second day of the Passover.
Right.
That's where it's
Because then
mistaken.
they're taking a second evening in. However, what they're doing is not inappropriate for the diaspora.
That is true.
Now,
But-
it has to do with rules of diaspora rather than adding in a second day of observance.
Mm-hmm.
But what they're trying to do is answer is, when is this supposed to be done for people who are not close to Jerusalem? Perhaps their time is so many hours before or so many hours behind. So when would they do the Passover? And so the fact still remains that it should be done between the sunsets of the day that is called the 14th day of the month.
Yes.
And so the 14th day of the month has a beginning sunset and an ending sunset. So any time in between there is permissible. It is not traditional, but it is permissible.
Right.
To slaughter the lamb.
Is that helpful?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm the one that.
Yeah, it's
didn't
making
quite
it,
understand,
it's,
but I
it's,
do now.
it's helping simplify it down to a way that anyone can keep in any time zone anywhere in the world, as long as they're willing.
Okay, so, if you're in China, when do you keep Passover? Well, you find out when the 14th day of the month is, and you keep it at the beginning or the end, between the beginning and evening.
But
ending
but not
sunset.
based on the 14th day of China, but the 14th day that
Of the Hebrew
Israel's counting.
calendar.
Yeah, the Hebrew calendar, which is, again, because the Chinese have their own calendar, and it's,
Wow.
no kidding. They have 8 different ways they can count their calendar. I'm like, how do y'all even make sure y'all's business transactions are in sync? I have to ask that to Mr. Spears another time.
Okay, so down at the next paragraph in your Torah, we see that there were certain people who had become unclean because somebody died, so that they could not observe Pesach on that day. So they came before Moses and Aaron that day, and they said unto him, "We are unclean because of someone's corpse. But why must we be kept from bringing the offering for Yahweh at the time designated for the people of Israel?" And Moses answered them, "Wait, so I can hear what Yahweh will order concerning you." And Yahweh said to Moses, "Tell the people of Israel, if any of you now or in the future, in future generations, is unclean because of a corpse, or if he is on a trip abroad, or nevertheless he is to observe Pesach, but he will observe it in the second month on the 14th day at dusk." So you either do it at Aviv or Sivan, and Sivan I think it is the first month, or you do it in the second month. Okay.
That was only if you were unclean from a corpse.
Yeah, if you happen to touch a dead body, or if there was some other reason why you were unclean, you cut your arm and it's bleeding, you can't observe the Passover when you're unclean. And so you have to wait until that heals, then be mikvahd, and then at sunset you become clean. But is the Passover already passed? More than likely. And so then you would have to wait for the second Passover to celebrate it.
And that's another month later?
Yeah. So that would be the second month, the 14th day of the second month when it's observed. So they are to eat matzah and bitter herbs, and they are to leave none of it until morning, and they are to not to break any of its bones. They are to observe it according to all the regulations of Pesach, but the person who is clean and not on a trip, who fails to observe Pesach will be cut off from his people because he did not bring the offering for Yahweh at its designated time. That person will bear the consequences of his sins. If a foreigner is staying with you and wants to observe Pesach for Yahweh, he is to do it according to the regulations and the rules of Pesach. You are to have the same law for the foreigner as for the citizen of the land.
Which means they have to.
Be circumcised,
Right.
and they have to be clean,
Mm-hmm.
and then they can come and offer their offerings as prescribed for the laws of Pesach.
Otherwise, they have to wait till next month.
Mm-hmm. On the day the tabernacle
Thank you.
was put up, you're very welcome. Good questions. On the day the tabernacle was put up, the cloud covered the tabernacle, that is the tent of the Moedim, the tent of the appointments. And in the evening over the tabernacle was what appeared to be fire, which remained until morning. So the cloud was always covered it, and it looked like a fire at night. Whenever the cloud was taken up from above the tent, the people of Israel continued their travels, and they camped wherever the cloud stopped at the order of Yahweh. The people of Israel traveled at the order of Adonai, and they camped, and as long as the cloud stayed over the tabernacle, they stayed in the camp. Even when the cloud remained down in the tabernacle for a long time, the people did what Yahweh had charged them to do and did not travel. Sometimes the cloud was a few days over the tabernacle according to Adonai's order, and they remained in the camp. According to Adonai's order, they traveled. Sometimes the cloud was there only from evening until morning, so that when the cloud was taken up in the morning, they traveled. Or even if it continued up by both day and night, when the cloud was up, they traveled. Whenever it was 2 days, a month, a year, the cloud remained over the tabernacle, staying on it. The people of Israel remained in the camp and did not travel. But as soon as it was taken up, they traveled. At Adonai's order, they camped, and at Adonai's order, they traveled. They did what Yahweh had charged them to do through Moses. Next, we come to the part that's pretty interesting about the instructions for making trumpets of hammered silver. Use them for summoning the community and for calling a break in the camp and moving on. When they are sounded, the entire community is assembled before you at the entrance to the tent of the meeting. If only one is sounded, then just the leaders and heads of the clans of Israel to assemble before you. When you sound an alarm, the camps to the east will commence traveling. Now remember all the orders of where each tribe was placed and where each of the families of the Levites were placed, and how they were arranged. And well, I know you don't know the specifics, but I was just showing you when we were going through all that, there were reasons for their placement. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And that we had Judah was always on the east side, which was the side that tended to get the most battles. But not always. Sometimes the Philistines would attack from the west, and in which case there would be tribes there that would take over and fight the forefront of that battle. So he says, when you sound the alarm, the camps to the south will set out. So the camps to the east will first travel on the first alarm. The second alarm, the camps to the south will set out. They will sound alarms to announce when to travel. However, when the community is to be assembled, you are to sound, but don't sound an alarm. It will be the sons of Aaron, the Kohanim, who are to sound the trumpets. This will be permanent regulation for you throughout all your generations. When you go to war, in your land against an adversary who is oppressing you, you are to sound an alarm with the trumpets, and you will be remembered before Yahweh your God. You will be saved from your enemies. Also, on your days of rejoicing, at your designated times, and on Rosh Hodesh, you are to sound the trumpets. over your burnt offerings, your sacrifices, your peace offerings, and these will be your reminder before your God. I am Yahweh, your God. On the 20th day of the second month of the second year, the 20th day of the second month of the second year, okay, keep in mind this is talking about from the actual Exodus. So this is the second year. It's in the second month and the 20th day of the month. And so this is going to be 6 days after the second Pesach. Okay. The cloud was taken up from over the tabernacle of the testimony, and the people of Israel moved out in stages from the Sinai desert. The cloud stopped in the Paran desert. So they set out on their first journey in keeping with Adonai's orders through Moshe. In the lead was the banner of the camp of the descendants of Yehuda. You know, a lot of these things were just rehearsals. I mean, they were moving a lot. And this first one was a dress rehearsal, just so you'll know how to do it when we have to leave. So anyway, verse 14, in the lead was the banner to the camp of the descendants of Yehuda, whose companies moved forward. Over his company was Nichsan, the son of Aminadab. Over the company, and get down here a little further, over the company of the tribe of the descendants of Issachar was Nathaniel. You know what Nathaniel means?
Nathaniel?
Okay, it's got L at the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's God.
Oh, L?
Uh-huh. Natan. We talked about this earlier in this parsha. It means a gift. Natan, to give. So Nathaniel is a gift of God. And the son of Tzuar. Okay? Now all of these names have meanings, and it's always good to go back and review and look it up in your dictionary and see what the root meaning of the name is, so you'll know what it actually means. Over the company of the descendants of Zebulun was Eliav, the son of Helon. The tabernacle was taken down, and the descendants of Gershon and the descendants of Merari set out carrying the tabernacle. Next, the banner of the camp of Reuben moved forwards. Why did they do that? You know, we have these camps going out, and the first camp of the tent of the meeting, let's just go back up and look. So they set out on the first journey in verse 13, and keeping with Adonai's order through Moses. In the lead was the banner of the camp of Judah, whose companies moved forward. Over his company was Nachshon, the son of Aminadab. Over the company of the tribe of descendants of Issachar was Nathaniel, the son of Zuar. Over the company of the descendants of Zebulun was Eliav, the son of Helon. And then in verse 17, the tabernacle was taken down, and the descendants of Gershon, there's the first Levite tribe, family, the descendants of Gershon and the descendants of Merari. Remember, Merari was responsible for, after the holy things had been packed away, then they were responsible for making sure that everything was set in its right portage, so that everything was carried properly according to God's instructions. And so there's Merari and Gershon. They were the first ones to go out, and what are they carrying?
The tabernacle.
The tabernacle. And why would they carry the tabernacle first?
They have to set it up first.
There has to be a place to put everything else.
There has to be a place to set it up first.
So it's the proper order logically. They need to have the Gershonites and the Meraris go forward carrying the tabernacle, and they've got to put up the poles and all the
Right.
cloths and all the veils and everything that they use in the putting up of the tabernacle.
Right.
So it's a lot of work that has to be done firsthand, and preparation for the rest of it to come in.
Well, they have to have gotten some muscle.
Oh
They would have
yeah.
had to get some muscle, yeah.
No weak
Yeah.
hearts in our body, right?
Oh my God.
So anyway, after that, then we see that the descendants of Kahat set out carrying the sanctuary, so that at the next camp, the tabernacle could be set up before they arrived. They tell you in here why, see? And then in verse 32, the banner of the camp of the descendants of Ephraim moved forward by companies. Over his company was Elishama, the son of Aminihud. And over the company of the tribe of descendants of Manasseh was Gamaliel, the son of Padasur. Okay. Over the company of the descendants of Benjamin was Avidan, the son of Gideoni, the Gideonites. And the banner of the camp of the descendants of Dan, forming the rear guard for all the camps, moved forward by companies. Over his company was Achiser, that means my brother is my helper, Achizer, and the son of Amishadai, that's the people of Most High. And then over the company of the tribe of the descendants of Asher was Pagiel, the son of Achron. Over the company of the descendants of Naphtali was Ahirah, the son of Enan. And this is how the people of Israel traveled, by companies, thus they move forward. Interesting, huh? So that their biggest primary concern was to make sure that the tabernacle had its place set and all of the other things filling in their order, so that none of them are coming in on the heels of the other one that they shouldn't be coming in on the heels of. And once the tabernacle and the sanctuary was all set up, then everything could proceed. Moshe said to Havav, the son of Ruel, the Midianite, Moses' father-in-law. So Moses is talking to Hovav.
Yep.
And he's a Midianite. And he says, we are traveling to the place which Adonai said, I will give to you. Come with us and we will treat you well, because Yahweh has promised good things to Israel. But he replied, I will not go. I would rather go back to my own country, my own kinsmen. That gives me a little red flag up somewhere in the midst of my soul, doesn't it, you?
Yep.
Is this his second father-in-law?
No, this is the
This is his
son
first.
of
Oh, the
Ruel.
son. Okay, the son of.
Hovav is the son of Ruel.
Didn't we cover something on the Midianites to today, some lineage or something? I'm trying to remember if Yochanan did that.
I don't remember.
Yeah, but there was significance on here we discovered during that study. I'm just drawing a blank as to. Oh, I think it translates now. The Midianites ended up being what we now know today as the modern day people of Pakistan,
Okay.
which fell into the Muslim Islam majority for the most part, from what I understand.
I can't swear to that because
Me neither, but
I
that's
know
what we-
that many of those people settled up in Turkey and various other places around.
Right.
But you know, Turkey was primarily Isav.
Right.
Remember, it said when he was born, he was ruddy looking, red-headed and scruffy.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of hair. And that's the way the Turkish people are today.
Esau, that's right. That's right.
If you've ever met a Turkish man, you find out that in order to have a neck, he has to shave all the way down to below where his t-shirt comes because he's so hairy.
They don't have a neck?
Oh, they do have a neck, but you can't see it because it looks like a bear head sticking out there at you.
To get rid of the neck. I wasn't sure.
Have you ever seen a red-headed bear? Well, that's what a Turk looks like when he hadn't shaved it around his neck.
Yeah, their ways are very strange.
Yeah. I love Turkish food. There's a place down in Austin that serves Turkish food, and I just love it. It's really delicious. So But this guy says, I will not go. I would rather go back to my own country and my own kinsmen. So Moses continued, please don't leave us, because you know that we have to camp in the desert and you can serve as our eyes. If you go with us, Moses, God is your eyes.
I never caught that.
If you go with us, then whatever good Adonai does for us, we will do the same for you. Now, that's another problem. He's going to bless this guy and his descendants in the same way that we are being blessed by Yahweh. Oops, I don't think that one works either. You follow me?
Yeah.
So they set out from Adonai's mountain and traveled for 3 days, and ahead of them on this 3-day journey went the ark of Yahweh's covenant, searching for a new place to stop. The cloud of Adonai was over them during the day, and they set out from the camp. And when the ark moved forward, Moses said, Kuma Adonai v'yafutzu oyavecha. Arise, Yahweh, may your enemies be scattered. I want to get that up there on my Hebrew, on the Hebrew, because I love when we come to these little phrases for you to see the source of it, because it's really cool. It says, and it came to pass, being Sa, when set forward Ha'aron, the ark.
We still don't. You may have to reset your language.
This is supposed to be Hebrew. I don't know what to do about that.
Check your network source.
Let's see if I'm still in the right connectivity.
Solomon, man.
Yeah. Nope, it's Solomon. It needs to be Solomon.
Oh, so it's not on Solomon, man.
No, it was on ZITV Live.
There you go. It switched again. I need to go in there and figure out where and which
Okay.
is 8.
Yeah, bring him back up now.
There we go.
Okay. So it says, Vayehi ben Soha. I have a psalm that we actually have a psalm that we do on Shabbat.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Vayehi ben Soharon, Vayomer Moshe, Kuma, that means to rise up. See, Oyavecha is your enemies. Oive, the enemy. So that's Oivecha. And Vayanusu means let flee. Misanecha, that those who hate you. Mipaneka, from before your face. Isn't that interesting? So that's what he would sing when they would move out. And when it rested, he said, Shuva Yahweh, Riva vote to the thousands, or the many. It's actually translated as many, which is probably correct here and a good way to translate it. But to the many thousands, Elaphe. Aleph means 1,000. And so here we have Elaphe, the thousands of Israel. So he's predicting Israel to become many thousands of thousands.
Millions.
Like the sands of the sea. And I'm trying to figure out what that last Hebrew letter is there after the colon. I will have to look this one up in a different Bible, so let me come up here to
Good catch.
and I have to get my glasses on. Wait, I got one right here.
Oh, my. That's what's that little house for.
Okay, so Oh, that's not supposed to be a reference work. I'm supposed to be in Bibles. Oh, there it was. Page up. Hebrew Old Testament BHS. Okie dokie. Okay. Vayomer, Shuva Yahweh, Revivot, to the myriads of thousands, Elaphe, of Israel. And at the end is a Hamachaneh.
Where are you?
I don't know. I went to the wrong way here. 36. Oh, that's because there's a differences in the verses here. Now let me go back over to the other one now. Might not be able to fix this. I have to let them know they got a missing verse here in their Hebrew.
Oh my.
Well, apparently there isn't a Hebrew letter following Israel. This is what it looks like.
Is that a glitch?
It's a glitch.
Okay.
What can I say? Sometimes software isn't perfect.
Oh my.
So here you can see in verse 36, it actually ends with the word Israel.
Right.
And so when we go back to Numbers 10:36 over here, you see that 36 ends with Israel with the little stop sign there at the end, and that's all it's supposed to have. That next little supposedly Hebrew word there, it looks like a Zion with a holum over it, but that doesn't work. Okay, no such thing. Continue in chapter 11, I guess.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
This is where the people start complaining.
Grumbling and blah, blah.
Okay, and the people start complaining. Oh, have we heard this one before?
Yep. Yeah, it's
The people began complaining about their hardships to Yahweh, and he didn't like it. Let's just go down and take a look. The mixed crowd that was with them grew greedy in verse 4 for an easier life, while the people of Israel, for their part, also renewed their weeping and said, "If only we had meat to eat, we could be so happy." Remember the restaurants on the Nile? Man, they had leeks and onions, and they had fish, you know. We could have our fill of fish, and there wasn't even a charge for it. We remember the fish we used to eat in Egypt. It cost nothing. And the cucumbers, boy, Rabbi Larry Spears would love that. The melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic.
you can close out that sea cleaner update. I'll
But now we're withering away.
But now we're withering away. We have nothing to look at but this man. Well, we want a female to look at. No, I'm joking. The dancers in those restaurants. So the manna that we'll call it man, by the way, was like coriander seed and white like gum resin. The people would go around gathering it and would grind it up in mills or pound it to paste with mortar and pestle, and then they would cook it in pots. and make it into loaves that taste like the cakes baked with olive oil. When the dew settled on the camp during the night, the man would come with it. And Moses heard the people crying, family after family, each person at the entrance of his tent. The anger of Yahweh flared up violently, and Moses too was displeased.
This would be a good time to clarify that's not man as in human.
Well, I
It's
just
man
did
as
that
in-
just a
okay.
minute or two ago, but I don't know where you were. But
Yeah.
anyway, go back and look at the archive. Moses asked Adonai, why are you treating your servant so badly? Why haven't I found favor in your sight so that you put the burden of this entire people on me? Did I conceive these people? Was I their father, so that you tell me, carry them in your arms, like a nurse carrying a baby to the land you swore to their ancestors? Where am I going to get meat for all these people? Because they keep bothering me with their crying, saying, give us meat to eat. I can't carry this entire people by myself alone. I was just telling everybody before the class, that sounds like me, just crying out to God today, telling him, I can't do this, If you're going to treat me this way, then just kill me outright. Did I know that feeling? Please, if you have any mercy towards me, don't let me go on being this miserable. Yahweh said to Moses, bring me 70 of the leaders of Israel, people you recognize as leaders of the people and officers of theirs. Bring them to the tent of the meeting and have them stand there with you, and I will come down and speak to you there, and I will take some of the spirit which rests on you and put it on them. And then they will carry the burden of the people along with you so that you won't carry it by yourself alone. I wanted to show you that phrase, by yourself alone, in Hebrew. It's an interesting phrase. And it's at the end of this verse. Libadka. Libadka. Bod is the root, and it means literally alone. To be alone. So it's still that way today. I mean, bod means alone. Simple, pure. So, verse 18. Tell your people, consecrate yourselves for tomorrow, and you will eat meat, because you cried in the ears of Yahweh. If only we had meat to eat. We had the good life in Egypt. All right? Adonai is going to give you meat, and you will eat it. And you won't eat it just 1 day, or 2 days, or 5 days, or 20 days, but a whole month. Until it comes out of your nose and you hate it. Because you have rejected Yahweh, who is here with you, and distressed him with your crying and asking, why did we ever leave Egypt? But Moses said, Hineni, here I am, with 600,000 men on foot. And yet you say, I will give them meat to eat for a whole month. If the whole flocks and herds were slaughtered for them, would it be enough? If all the fish in the sea were collected for them, would even that be enough? Adonai answered Moses, has Adonai's arm grown short? Now you will see whether what I said will happen or not. Verse 24. Do you know somebody's in trouble? Moses went out and told the people what Yahweh had said, and then he collected 70 of the leaders of the people and placed them all around the tent. Adonai came down in the cloud and spoke to him, took some of the spirit that was on him and put it on the 70 leaders. And when the spirit came to rest upon them, they prophesied, but then not afterwards. So that was a temporary sign. There were 2 men who stayed in the camp, one named Eldad and the other Eldad and Medad. And the Spirit came to rest upon them, and they were among those listed to go out to the tent, but they hadn't done so. And they prophesied in the camp. A young man ran and told Moses, Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp. Yehoshua, the son of Nun, who from his youth up had been with Moses' assistant, answered, Oh, my Lord, Moshe, stop them. But Moshe replied, Are you so zealous to protect me? I wish all of Yahweh's people were prophets. I wish Adonai, Yahweh, would put his spirit on all of them. Moses and the leaders. So the Moses and the leaders of Israel went back into the camp, and Adonai, Yahweh, sent out
Here
a
it
wind
comes.
which brought the quails. Huh?
I was saying, here they come.
Uh-huh. If you'll listen, that flapping sound you hearing is the quail beating a path to you. And so
Sent the wind out.
he brought the wind and the quails from across the sea. How did he bring the grasshoppers to Egypt? With a wind. How did he bring the quail? With a wind. That was really wild, huh? It was about a day's trip away on each side of the camp. They fell all around it, covering the ground to a depth of 3 feet. God can hunt.
Quailed under.
Quailed under, yes. Literally quailed under.
Got the shovel, quail out of the way.
Oh, my Lord.
The people stayed up all that day, all that night, and all the next day gathering the quails, and the persons gathering the least collected 10 heaps. Then they spread them out for themselves all around the camp, but while the meat was still in their mouth, before they had chewed it up,
Oh, boy.
the anger of Yahweh flared up against the people, and Adonai struck the people with terrible plague, and therefore that place was named Kivrot Hata'avah, graves of greed, because they buried the people who were so greedy. From Kivrot Hata'avah, and the people traveled to Hazarot, and they stayed at Hazarot.
Do we have a brief minute to... We've never done an insight on this, so why... Not this part, the prior, just a little up in 11. So, these people who are greedy in mind, heart, spirit, God struck with the terrible plague. Not only because they complained to God, but could we take this in context? What do you believe? Because there's significance in the order in this. What do you believe we could learn from this? Besides, of course, take responsibility for
There's a lot we can
words.
say about it, but I don't think we have time. It's already 8:30.
I like to say that in my Bible, when it says 10 heaps, in mine it says 10 homers.
10 homers.
Oh, that's quite a bit of dough. Dough.
I was like, oh, wait a second, mine says 10 homers.
They were watching The Simpsons a little too much back then, apparently.
Well, this leads up to the verse 1 of chapter 12, which is our next chapter.
Yeah.
And we're getting close to the end of the Parsha this week. I think chapter 12 will wrap it. Miriam and Aaron were criticizing Moses on account of the Ethiopian woman he had married, for he had in fact married an Ethiopian woman. And they said, is it true that Yahweh has spoken only with Moshe? Only with Moshe? Hasn't he spoken to us too? Adonai heard them. Now this man, Moshe, was very humble, more so than anyone on the earth. Who's writing these words? Moses.
Moses, yeah. Well, he was also instructed by Yahweh, wasn't he?
Of course.
Yeah.
I can't imagine anyone writing it just to try to prove themselves the humblest man in the whole earth, because that would prove just the opposite.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? This is a thumbprint of God in the scriptures.
Yeah.
And it convinces me that God wrote this. Moses was very humble, more so than anyone on earth. Suddenly Yahweh told Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, "Come out, you three, to the tent of the meeting." And the three of them went out, and Adonai came down in a column of cloud and stood at the entrance of the tent, and he summoned Aaron and Miriam. And they both went forward, and he said, "Listen to what I say. When there is a prophet among you, I, Yahweh, make myself known to him in a vision. I speak with him in a dream. But it isn't that way with my servant Moses. He is the only one who is faithful in my entire household. With him I speak face to face and clearly, not in riddles. He sees the image of Yahweh." I will tell you that many times when God speaks to me, he speaks in phrases that are true but are difficult to understand. And that's what this means. It's like a riddle when he speaks to you. And so we can't just take it at face value when he tells you something. And it's like the story I've told oftentimes that one time God told me, "I'm going to take you to before kings and princes."
Right.
And so anyway, the next day I got a phone call from my neighbors, and they said, "Would you come over and pray for us?" And I said, "Sure." And they said, "Is it okay if we have some friends over too?" And I said, "Yeah, it'll be fine." So they had their friends come over, and we came over and prayed for them. And I told them, God told me he was going to take me before kings and princes. And they started laughing like crazy. And I said, "What is so funny?" And they said, "Well, our name is King and their name is Prince." I was clueless. So that was one which he told me that was not easy understood until after the fact. Are you following me?
Yeah.
So anyway, I've learned that God does speak oftentimes in riddles like that.
And obviously has a sense of humor.
He does have a very good sense of humor. So anyway, why aren't you afraid to criticize my servant Moshe? The angel of Yahweh feared up against them, and he left. But when the cloud was removed from above the tent, Miriam had sarat, and that's leprosy. And she was white as snow. And Aaron looked at Miriam, and she was as white as snow. Aaron said to Moshe, "Oh, my Lord, please don't punish us for this sin. Please don't let her be like a stillborn baby with its flesh half eaten away when it comes out of its mother's womb."
Yeah.
Moses cried to Yahweh, "Oh God, I beg you, please heal her." Yahweh answered Moses, "If her father had merely spit in her face, wouldn't she hide herself from shame for 7 days? So let her be shut out of the camp for 7 days. After that, she can go back in."
So that's how God spits in your face.
Yeah. So Miriam was shut out of the camp 7 days, and the people did not travel until she was brought back in. Afterwards, the people went on from Hatzerot and camped in the Paran desert.
There you go.
End of this week's Parsha. We did it.
Good deal.
Okay, next week we will study Parsha 37, which is Shalach Lecha, send forth for yourselves. And of course, it's talking about the 12 spies that entered the land. This is their first journey to the Canaan land, Eretz Canaan, the land of Canaan, soon to be Israel. So we'll see how quickly people just fall away and what God does. Amen.
Yeah.
Lord, help me to learn these lessons. I don't want to be in trouble either.
Amen.
Baruch Hashem.
I
Amen.
need to look up the meanings of the names and start running around with paper.
Yeah.
That would be a good project for you to start, a reference guide to the names and see if there's already existing projects, obviously online, you can use as cross-reference.
I think it should
There has to be. There has to be.
Because you can find Israeli assistants.
Okay. Well, that's it for tonight. I hope you got a blessing out of the study, and that we will be here again, the Lord willing, next Tuesday for the Parsha on the Behaalotekha, sending forth for yourself the spies into the land of Egypt. And the land of Canaan. Excuse me. No, they wish it was Egypt, you know.
No. But Rabbi, might want to catch yourself there.
That was a slow catch, but I did it.
But Rabbi, that's not what it says.
Exactly. Thank you for your catch. Well, please join us again next week for our next Torah class, and also please be aware we have classes on Shabbat at Saturday morning at 10 a.m. We have a Bible issues class that I teach, and then we usually 11 o'clock we go into our morning service, and then at about 1 o'clock we wrap it up. We'd love to have you join us for that, and let me know if you're enjoying these classes and what it means to you. Maybe just say something to me about something that popped out at you that you just haven't heard before and you'd like to comment on it maybe. That would be wonderful. Also, if you'd like to contact me about a question, a Bible question that you have burningeth in your bosom, send it to asktherabbi@tzion.org, and I'll be happy to consider it for a special attention during our classes. So that's all we have time for today, so I will say arrivederci, baby.
Oh, my.
Or shalom aleichem, peace unto you.
Yes.
And we will hopefully see you again on the Sabbath and on the Torah class next Tuesday. So God bless you all. Shalom, and come again.
Amen. Shalom.
You need to underline where it says 10 homers.
Thank you for joining us for another delightful evening of our Torah class. Again, we want to invite you for our upcoming Shabbat services. 10 a.m. Bible Issues class, followed by our 11 a.m. main service with worship, liturgy, and another teaching. So in the meantime, we shall see you again, and shalom, shalom.